So after last night's WrestleMania Backlash on the WWE Network and Peacock, there is a ton of WWE news stories to get into today, specifically when it comes to some of the events of last night's WrestleMania Backlash. Specifically, let's talk about the zombies again. Now, I don't want to keep talking about the zombies. I did a post-show reaction stream last night where I basically spent, it must have been at least 15 or 20 minutes talking about just the ridiculousness and how stupid this whole zombie lumberjack thing was at WrestleMania Backlash last night. Lord knows, it was so bad, wasn't it? We'll touch on that in a second. Anyway, AEW wrestler Chris Jericho and former WWE superstar Chris Jericho has blasted WWE for the zombie lumberjack match at WrestleMania Backlash last night. Now, AEW star and first ever AEW World Champion Chris Jericho believes WWE, quote, set the wrestling business back 30 years by featuring a lumberjack match with zombies during the Miz vs. Damian Priest match at WrestleMania Backlash on Sunday. Jericho tweeted late Sunday night, quote, zombies, wow, that just set wrestling back 30 years. Now, the phrase set wrestling back 30 years is obviously a reference to an alleged quote from a WWE official, high-ranking WWE official, who, quote, hated the inaugural Blood and Guts match earlier this month on AEW Dynamite. PW Insider's Dave Shearer quoted a person in WWE management as saying that the brutal AEW match, quote, set the business back 30 years. Now, if you're a bit confused as to what is going on when I'm talking about zombies and WrestleMania Backlash and all that kind of stuff, WWE legend and future Hall of Famer Batista sent his army of the dead zombies to WrestleMania Backlash. This is real. By the way, this is real. Sent his army of the dead zombies to WrestleMania Backlash after tweeting before the show that his, quote, friends would be paying a visit to the event. Now, Zack Snyder's upcoming movie was the lead sponsor of the WWE pay-per-view, featuring several advertisements throughout the shows. Of course, Batista is the lead in that film. Now, after Priest won the Zombies lumberjack match, he retreated to safety as the zombies invaded into the ring to eat. Yeah, eat. We talk about eating people. To feast on The Miz, who might have actually been injured in the match as well, might have suffered an injury. John Morrison also suffered the same fate as he got pulled over the barrier by a few zombies and then eaten. Yes, we are living in the WWE reality where zombies are eating WWE superstars for real. And it's not kind of played up in the sense that they're playing it up for comedy and laughs, oh, this is crazy and all this kind of stuff. I think that's the most insulting thing about the whole zombie thing, and we do have some more news when it comes to the zombies, particularly Batista's reaction to the zombies last night. The most insulting thing about that last night was, and because I posted this on Twitter, I was surprised by some of the reaction I got. To be honest, universally, I think 99.9% of people hated the whole zombie thing last night. It was stupid, it was goofy, it wasn't funny, it was just ridiculous. It was ridiculous. But you did have that pocket of people, I don't know sometimes if they're actually being serious. I don't know if they're WWE stans or anything like that. But you had that pocket of people that just, when you criticize any product, or you criticize whether it's WWE or AEW or Impact or whatever, you criticize the product. There are some people that are so staunch defenders of that product. That's their team. Everyone's got to have a team. Everyone's got to have a tribe. And they're so defensive of their team that you post last night on social media, man, that zombie stuff was awful. It was terrible. And you get some people straight away going, well, one, don't watch it, which is the most ridiculous comeback ever, by the way. When someone criticizes something, the response is, well, if you don't like it, don't watch it. It's stupid. Well, I liked the show last night. I like WrestleMania Backlash. I didn't like that segment. Don't tell me what I can and can't watch. I pay for the network. It's ridiculous. But you also had some people going, well, if it was AEW, you'd love it. No. If it was AEW, I still wouldn't like it because it was awful. It was terrible. And Chris Jericho, as much as he likes to poke fun, he likes to stir it up, and he likes to get people talking, and he likes to do stuff on social media. And don't get me wrong, there's been a lot of Jericho stuff that he said and done over the course of the last 12 months that I've really not agreed with. But he knows when to how to push the right buttons. But he's right. He's right in this case. Because there's been multiple people that have come out and reported the same facts, that senior WWE officials, either on the creative team or in WWE management, said that they hated the Blood and Guts match and they felt it sent the business back 30 years. Oh, it sent the business back 30 years. Too much violence and all that blood and all that blading. Oh, people are going to look at pro wrestling and look at it and go, it's so barbaric and it's so terrible and all this kind of stuff. And then a couple of weeks later, WWE has the nerve to present zombies as lumberjacks and actually, and this was the most offensive part in it, actually try and sell and portray that these zombies are real. What is an outsider of that doesn't like pro wrestling or a casual fan, what are they meant to perceive wrestling as when they see that? Seriously, what are they meant to perceive pro wrestling as? If your concern is the perception of pro wrestling or how pro wrestling looks to advertisers or television networks or whatever, and that they're going to look at that and go, oh, so barbaric, it's horrible, that sets the business back because there was too much violence. What are these television networks and these corporations meant to view pro wrestling as? Looking at zombies on television and trying to portray that zombies are real. You had the superstars, you had Damian Priest, The Miz, John Morrison, even the announcers that ran away when a zombie appeared from under the desk, and then you had Adnan Virk, Corey Graves and Byron Saxton run away out of fear that they were going to be eaten by these dead people that had come to life, and they sold it like it was real. What are the television networks and sponsors meant to think of that? They'll look at that and say, wow, I'd rather it be violent because that is awful. Plus, it's a horror movie where there's going to be violence in it and you're promoting it. It's just ridiculous. It is ludicrous. The comment that WWE felt that AEW, their blood and guts match, set the business back 30 years. Was it maybe too much violence for television? I don't know. That's your preference. I didn't think it was too bad. People have their limits when it comes to violence, and was maybe there too much blood that was unnecessary? I think that's a fair criticism. The chair shots to the head, I hated it. I hated the chair shots to the head. We've come so far in terms of knowing about concussions, CTE, all that kind of stuff. We know that, and that has no place in pro wrestling in 2021. I was very vocal in criticizing that. But I didn't think it ruined the wrestling business. I didn't think it set the business back 30 years. Who's to say putting the business back 30 years is a bad thing anyway? A lot of people still talk to this day about the Attitude Era, that they want something that is actually compelling, that's actually fun to watch, that's actually good to watch week to week and difficult to predict and is engaging. That's not necessarily a bad thing being set back 30 years, is it? Certainly, this whole zombie thing set WWE back at least 25 years to the mid-90s when the product was terrible. I was expecting Mantar and Bastion Booger and Repo Man to come out chasing the zombies away. It was just this cartoonish stuff that was bad 25 years ago. It was bad 25 years ago, and it's still bad now. Who on earth pitched this and then found it was actually any good? And like I said, for WWE to have the nerve to say that Blood and Guts set the business back 30 years, but that is acceptable, that's not acceptable. And I know people might look at it and say, well, you're making a big deal out of nothing and it's just promotion of a movie. No, have standards. You have to have standards, and you have to not insult the intelligence of your audience. This is still a television show at the end of the day. You're trying to entertain people. If you're watching a bad television program or a bad movie, you will switch off. You will turn people away. And I know people because I saw it on social media. And I've had people reach out to me that say, that was so bad, I wanted to turn the show off. It was so bad, it turned people away. Now, I think thankfully some people didn't, and they saw the remainder of what was a very good show. And it's a testament to how good the show was last night, that zombie just ludicrousness didn't ruin the show. But for some people it maybe did, because it insulted their intelligence. The only way WWE could have got away with that last night, they could have got away with it, because they really could have got away with it. The way they could have got away with it is that if what they had done is portrayed it as these were all actors. These were all actors that were involved in the movie, and they were coming there to promote the movie, and the ring was surrounded by these actors portraying these zombies, and they kind of played it up as just the ludicrous nature of what it is. What our lumberjacks are these actors, and then Damian Priest and The Miz just beat the hell out of the lumberjacks and then have the match. They could have got away with it that way. The most insulting thing in that is that they tried to portray that this was real. And you had... what credibility does that give to Damian Priest and The Miz, two WWE superstars that are meant to be portrayed as tougher and two of the most high-profile guys on the roster? And they're scared of zombies. They're scared of things that aren't real. And again, some people's counter-argument to this is, well, you had The Undertaker. He's meant to be a dead man. You're meant to have Kane and this supernatural stuff, or... you're a fan of Bray Wyatt. You're a fan of Bray Wyatt and all that kind of stuff. Well, it's different because Bray Wyatt can actually hit Sister Abigail in the ring. And as far as I'm aware, The Fiend hasn't started eating people yet. You know, and there is a bit of credibility and sort of danger and threat there. It was so stupid and it was so ludicrous. And if anyone tries to justify it as it was good stuff or it was good promotion of the movie, all that kind of stuff, no, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And I think Jericho's right to call WWE out for it. And that's not me being an AEW stan. I've been very critical of a lot of things for AEW. A lot of people think that Dynamite's the best thing on television, and it's not. There are certainly loopholes in there in terms of logic and storytelling that I'm always critical of. I'm still critical of Dynamite's presentation of the women's division. Even though it is improving, it's still not where it needs to be. And so many times on Dynamite, there is a lack of logic for a lot of things. I mean, Jericho's Inner Circle segment this week when they sprayed the bubbly cannon on the Pinnacle. The bubbly barely hit them. The cannon was tiny, and it was a rehash of a WWE segment. I don't want to have all of these WWE references on Dynamite every week. So I'm hardly a staunch advocate of either. You know, I'm a pro wrestling fan. I like what I like, and I don't like what I don't like. And I'll criticize what I don't like, and I'll praise what I do. And that's what this channel is about. It's about opinion. But to try and justify that was good stuff last night, no. There is no way you can convince me or I think anyone that was any good last night. And like I said, it's just the hypocrisy to say that blood and guts set the business back 30 years because of violence. And then you have zombies, fake zombies surrounding the ring, eating people. I mean, I know it's like over the top violence, but they ate people. You're trying to say cannibalism. That's not saying people, but it's just, there is so much in there. There is so much in there you could just say it's just stupid. Anyway, let's keep talking about the zombies. Do we have to? Yes, we do. Batista. Obviously, it was all about Batista's film that they were promoting last night at WrestleMania Backlash. Well, he's taken to Twitter. He took to Twitter last night. He responded to criticism over the Zombies Lumberjack match that saw Damian Priest defeat The Miz at WrestleMania Backlash. As I mentioned, the Zombies, of course, were a tie-in with Zack Snyder's new Army of the Dead movie on Netflix, which stars Batista in a leading role. The Animal also narrated the opening package for the pay-per-view, which was very good, by the way. The opening package was great. The pay-per-view, of course, was sponsored by the movie, if you didn't know. They mentioned it about 10 million times. Now, Batista posted a pre-show teaser tweet, and that he said some of his friends would be attending the pay-per-view. His friends then ended up being these zombies. A fan then tweeted Batista after the show and said, rightfully so, that these zombies were insulting to fans. Batista responded and said the fans should be complaining to WWE Chairman and CEO Vince McMahon and not him. He said, quote, WTF you telling me? I think you think I booked a bunch of effing zombies? I'm on a damn plane. Shouldn't you be tweeting Vince? And he also posted a response to Ryan Satin, who was like, oh, I get it now. Anyway, people complaining to Batista. It's not Batista's fault. It really isn't Batista's fault about this booking. And I do think we sort of joked about it on the streams last night that Batista once again turning heel. There is no way. He must have known what was going on, though, because he posted the teaser. So he must have, when he was asked to post the teaser, he must have said, oh, what are they doing out of curiosity? There's no way. I mean, Batista's a Hall of Famer, and he's a logical guy. And during his runs, his last two runs of WWE, not necessarily the one where he faced Triple H at WrestleMania, but certainly the run prior to that, he was really vocal of how much he hated the creative process there and all the writers and the bad ideas and the lack of logic and all that kind of stuff. There is no way you can tell me that when they told Batista what they were going to be doing, he was like, oh, that's cool. He knew that would be BS. He must have known. And there's no way, if this was a match involving Batista in his heyday in WWE, he would have never, ever gone for this. There is no way he would have gone for this. So he must have known this was BS. But it's not his fault. He had nothing to do with it. It's just his film. WWE probably decided to go with promoting the film because it had Batista in. And they thought it was these creative geniuses that sit round a table. They get involved in groupthink. That's a phenomenon, isn't it, groupthink? And that's you all sat around the table. And because you don't get any outside opinions, you get involved in this bubble in the point that all of your ideas suddenly seem amazing. And what you really need, you need someone outside of this bubble to say, well, wait a minute. I know you've kind of all on top of each other here, and you might think this idea is good. It's not. This idea is stupid. And I just can't believe that no one in WWE, I mean, we hear this environment, don't we, of the Emperor's News Clothes when it comes to like Vince McMahon. And that he can come up with these ideas and it's all, yes, it's amazing. It's the best idea I've ever heard, even though they know it's a bad idea. And that's not a phenomenon to WWE. That's a phenomenon to all business, to be honest. You've seen it when these big directors or CEOs or whatever come up with an idea that you know is terrible, but it's their company, so they've got to do what they've got to do. I just can't believe there is no one there to play devil's advocate, pun not intended, to say this idea sucked. It sucked. And like I said, the fortunate thing is that it didn't ruin the pay-per-view because the pay-per-view was really good. But man, did they try and ruin it with this one. They really did. But I mean, it's not Batista's fault, obviously. I just wish he would have come out and just power bombed or Batista bombed all of these zombies and got rid of them. Anyway, Tyson Fury was backstage last night at WrestleMania Backlash. Former wrestler Tyson Fury has wrestled a match for WWE, and there were lots of plans for Tyson Fury to wrestle last year, but the pandemic put a halt to that. Now, heavyweight boxing champion Tyson Fury and his son Prince John James were backstage for last night's WrestleMania Backlash pay-per-view. They posted several pictures on their Instagram accounts after meeting WWE Chairman Vince McMahon, Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio, Ric Flair, Paul Heyman, and several other WWE superstars. Prince John said he's coming for a WWE contract in a few years. As noted previously, Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio made history last night, becoming the first father-son duo to win gold in WWE. The WWE posted an article of the possibility of Tyson Fury and his son following in Rey and Dominic Mysterio's footsteps in the future. Now, when it comes to Fury, of course, he announced on Sunday, yesterday, that he will be fighting fellow British boxing heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua for the undisputed heavyweight championship on August 14 in Saudi Arabia. It's the biggest fight in British boxing history, to be honest, and I'm really much looking forward to it. I'm a Fury fan, and I'm backing Tyson Fury for that one. I know people might not like Fury, but he's my guy when it comes to boxing. I think he's a great advocate for mental health, so I'm a big Fury fan. His comeback's incredible, and it does kind of slant me. I will be totally transparent here. It does kind of slightly slant me when it comes to his involvement in WWE. I know a load of people don't like Tyson Fury's involvement in WWE. I think that stems from pro wrestling fans hating outsiders coming in. It was the same for Bad Bunny when he came in earlier this year, right? Everyone hated, what's this rapper doing? What's this rapper doing on my WWE? What's this rapper doing on my wrestling television? He can't come in on my wrestling television, all this kind of stuff, but it's business. It's always business. And do I think Tyson Fury was the best wrestler when he went up against Braun Strowman at Crown Jewel in 2019? No, but you have to give the guy credit. He really doesn't need to be doing pro wrestling. He doesn't. He's a heavyweight boxing champion. He's undefeated. He makes a lot of money doing what he does. And he went to the Performance Center whilst he was in a fight camp for other fights, by the way. He went to the Performance Center and he trained. He took bumps and he got involved in the match. Now, I know people would say, well, I would do that for like $8 million or $10 million, however much he got in Saudi for that event, and that's true as well. But he was all in when it came to WWE, and I think he still is. There were tons of plans for Tyson Fury in 2020 involving WWE. There were plans to have Tyson Fury compete at WrestleMania in what that would have been, I don't know, probably the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. There were plans for him to wrestle at SummerSlam last year. There were plans to have a pay-per-view based over here in the United Kingdom that would have had Tyson Fury versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship inside of a stadium. That didn't happen because of the pandemic. So Tyson Fury was heavily featured in for WWE last year in terms of at least 3 stadium shows. They know the draw that Tyson Fury is. They know the ability that guy has to put behinds in seats and sell tickets. I mean, he's a heavyweight boxing champion. He is a very charismatic person. He's certainly a unique personality. And I have no doubts that as we sort of hopefully come to the other side of this pandemic or get back to whatever the new normal is and get back to some form of normality, certainly with fans in arenas and WWE returning to touring and the ability to travel between countries again, certainly the United States and the United Kingdom, I think we're going to have more Tyson Fury with WWE. Now, I don't think he's going to be doing with anything with WWE in the real close future. As I mentioned, he's facing Anthony Joshua in August. He's going to be in fight camp for that. That's going to be his number one priority because if he wins that, he's really up there as one of the best heavyweight boxers of all time. I know that's a big statement, but he would have unified the division, and it's huge over here in the United Kingdom. It's massive, so he's going to be focused on that. Coming out of that, though, I wouldn't be surprised if come the end of the year he's teasing getting back involved with WWE, especially if they're going to do those Saudi shows possibly in November or something like that. But I would be very, very surprised if we've seen the last of Tyson Fury inside of a WWE ring. It's inevitable he will come back. Just when? Possibly, as I mentioned, maybe November around if they do another Crown Jewel show, possibly the Royal Rumble in 2022, something like that. Tyson Fury will be back inside of a WWE ring. And like I said, they want to do that big stadium show over here in the UK with Drew and Tyson Fury. They've been teasing it forever. So Tyson Fury isn't done in WWE. Speaking of major events as well, WWE last night announced a surprising change to the pay-per-view calendar because the 2021 Hell in a Cell pay-per-view has been announced for Sunday, June 20th. Now, it's previously reported that the 2021 Money in the Bank pay-per-view was scheduled for June 20th, but WWE announced during last night's WrestleMania Backlash show that the June 20 show will now be Hell in a Cell. This will be the first time that WWE has held Hell in a Cell in June since the pay-per-view was created in 2009. All of the Hell in a Cell events have taken place in October, except for the 2018 event, which took place mid-September, but still close to the October date. Now, WWE reportedly made the decision to hold Hell in a Cell in June sometime in the last week or so. This is according to PW Insider. The next pay-per-view scheduled after June 20 was the Extreme Rules event, which is internally booked for July 18. There have been rumors, though, that Money in the Bank could be taking the place of Extreme Rules on July 18, and that possibly could be the first pay-per-view event, that features live fans in attendance, because obviously WWE internally looks to be returning to touring in July, so possibly Hell in a Cell could be the last pay-per-view inside the WWE Thunderdome. So I'm excited about that. I mean, Hell in a Cell, I'm a fan of the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Wow, I'm a fan of the Hell in a Cell match. The Hell in a Cell pay-per-view has kind of killed off the Hell in a Cell match, in that it was meant to be special, it was meant to be unique, it was only for certain feuds, it was the blow-off match of certain feuds, but they know the brand, obviously WWE knows the brand Hell in a Cell, and they know it sells tickets and sells pay-per-view buys, so that's why they do it. I think there are a couple of matches or feuds that could take place inside Hell in a Cell, which I'd be interested in. Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks is one, and I think Lashley versus Drew McIntyre might take place inside Hell in a Cell, but it's exciting. And as we get closer to fans returning, that's very exciting as well. But look, guys, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on all of the fallout from the Zombie Lumberjack match at WrestleMania Backlash last night? Tyson Fury being backstage at WrestleMania Backlash 2, and WWE Hell in a Cell returning next month. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community, drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube, go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestling News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or have you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.